Hey everyone, what's good? And we're looking at Noveltech character today. Beautiful plugin from Plugin Alliance that I've been using for many years in my pretty much wide a range of genres. It really doesn't matter for what record I'm working on. This plugin really helps with just overall enhancing a certain sound or a certain group, even up to experimenting on the master channel, which you'll see in a little bit. I really love it, and I think it's a perfect plugin to throw up on my channel because I do not think it's used enough, or maybe even today a couple of producers may be fully unaware of it. So that's really my goal. Let's step right into the production, not waste any time here. I'm using a record that I've used in my masterclass and other videos before, just for this example. Before we get started, I just briefly want to talk about the plugin itself. Let me just fire it up so we can look at it as we're talking. It is put out through Plugin Alliance. I got it through the entire suite that they put out here. They also have the Noveltech vocal enhancer, very similar, but obviously made for vocals. We're not going to look at that today. Here's your interface. Very straightforward, guys. I love reviewing plugins that seem simplistic to you guys, but then the back end and the algorithm that goes into what these parameters that look so simple do. And this is why it's a great plugin, because less is more on the build of the actual interface, but what it does is a lot. So that's why I kind of want to review this today. What they refer this to is an IAF. That's called Intelligent Adaptive Filtering. That is what Plugin Alliance Noveltech pretty much defines this character plugin is. Also, what they have it called is an adaptive sound shaping solution. Just a couple terms that back what this is going to do for you guys. I also compare this a little bit to a newer plugin that I've had on the channel, Fresh Air from Slate Digital. There's somewhat of a similarity of what it does to certain sounds with creating certain space and enhancement to that sound. So they're pretty similar in ways here and there. But let's just hear the sound, the song I'm working on, so you can get familiar, and then we'll work on the plugin itself. All right, good piano kind of house record. Some of you that are following me probably heard this record before. It's a good example of there's certain sounds in this mix that I want to enhance, and the Noveltech character is perfect for it. Specifically, if we go over to my piano group right here, you guys can see the metering coming in, the input output, very straightforward. You guys can see this little bit of metering down here. This is going to tell you when you're clipping. You guys can right click and reset that. You guys can also right click on these metering and set different metering times that they have. Really useful when you're paying attention to that. In my honest opinion, am I going to pay attention to this metering versus maybe having a huge meter plugin? No, I'd rather have a major plugin maybe on a different screen that I can really focus on, but it is nice to have in case you guys want that. Now, your main knob here, as usual with most plugins, is pretty much your dry wet, your total of processing that you're doing, aka the character knob. Going over to the target, guys, this is a pretty important part of this plugin. What it's doing is taking the low to the high frequency, the entire spectrum of the input sound, your guitar, your bass, whatever you're feeding into it. This is all going to depend on the input source that you're bringing in. Again, a bass, a guitar. If you're bringing in a percussion set, this entire amount that you're putting is going to sound different per every input source or every stem that you're using. So going full 100, that's going to be your full spectrum. Very important to use. It's adjusting the processing focus from low to high frequency is their definition. Now you got 3 modes in this plugin that I find quite interesting. I will say mode 1 is the most common, or the widest mode that you can kind of use on just every type of instrument or getting the best results. Now 2 is pretty precise on more of the guitars, synths, stuff that's really airy sounds, stuff like that. Mode 3, like I said before, they do have a vocal plugin. If you are working vocals, maybe mode 1, but you might as well use the vocal one. But mode 3 is more for your bass, kind of those mid to lower warmer pads and stuff like that. I like using mode 3. So we'll just set it to, let's see what we want to do. We're going to work with piano, guitar, synth. So let's go to mode 2 for this. And now you guys will notice as I bring up pretty much close to full target and I bring up the character, there's so much air that comes into these pianos, specifically on the drop. And what I like doing on this plugin, as people that are following me know, I love pushing plugins as far as they can go and then bounce back. You guys will see on the output metering, it's going to clip. I obviously want to drop back once I hit that. So let me just reset. That's obviously too far. Let's just reset. And let's do without it. You almost, it's funny how these enhancer plugins work. Again, the Fresh Air one I did with Slate Digital. It's funny how big of a difference they make to something maybe you didn't know was so dull. Not saying my pianos sounded fully dull and hidden in the mix, but when you kind of A/B something like this, you start to pick up that, hey, maybe my pianos or my vocals were lacking a little bit high-end character, or maybe a little bit of air from these plugins. So simple, but they make such a, you know, major difference to the sound. Okay, another important thing, guys, down here you'll see in their interface, A/B. A lot of plugins have A/B. If you guys want to dial in almost 2 different presets for this sound, you can go back and forth. Very, very useful. So if I want to keep this one without saving it, I can go over to the B one. It will store that preset that I just dialed in. And we can go to the B one and kind of do a different one and say, you know what, let's see which one's fitting best. So very, very useful. As always, they have presets for you guys here if you want to go through any of their factory presets. My recommendation, if this is the first time you guys are using this plugin, I would recommend going through Presets 101 and studying which modes are using which sound, because they have, you know, female vocals, see what mode it's switching to. They have a bass boost, see what mode, and all of that. Take note so that when you're doing it on your own, you'll be familiar with how much character you need to use, how much target, etc. So make sure you just kind of study the presets. All right, let's now hear how this is going in the mix, because that's important when you're dialing stuff in. Let's just hear how it's enhancing this in the mix. A lot more shine, a lot more presence. Overall enhancement is there. I call that a win on the piano group. Something I also want to take note, if we go to the bass group, this is a great plugin for if you guys are into live bass, you know, organic natural sounds, like bringing in bass guitar, bringing in live guitar, stuff like that. Use this plugin a lot. It does work and has this certain sound to real instruments outside of the digital stuff that we're using. It works great on both, but I've found tremendous results on when you guys can see behind me, my guitar is over here. When I bring in a guitar or something, a live recording, it's incredible the difference that you get out of it. So let's fire it up here on a bass line for the moment. I have my bass group. We're going to go to mode 3 as they suggest for basses. That's quite a difference. Let's A/B that. Now, do I think that little high, that mid-high end coming through the bass is super important in the mix? Not really. I mean, as we're doing one-on-one right now with the sound, it is sounding great. Will that make a, you know, game-changing difference in the mix? That's debatable. For me, the detail stuff that I put into it, I would like to push that a bit more. I think it could warm up the mids with this sound. Are we going to hear a huge big jump here in the mix? I don't think so, but let's take a look. Yeah, there's a little bit. I think I'm getting a bit more mid, you know, 300 hertz, 400 hertz, a little bit of warmth. I think it's a tiny detail. You know, will the average listener pick up on it? Maybe not. But that's up to you guys. I think it enhances a little bit. I think the bass stuff with this character plugin can be a hit or miss. Also depends on how simplistic your record is. I think this is a pretty complicated layered record, so you're not going to hear something like this jump out too much, but you did on the pianos because that's a specific high-end, it's pretty much the high-end part of the drop here, so you're going to hear that being enhanced. On top of that, looking at the vocals, if we go over here, let's just bring that up for the moment. And they have Noveltech Vocal Enhancer, but I'm just going to throw on the regular one that we're working on today. And I want to see how this brings out the high end a little bit. And they're recommending for the vocals to just use mode 1. Cause I'm running away for good, baby. Running away cause I could, baby. Cause I'm running away for good, baby. Running away cause I could, baby. Cause I'm running away for good, baby. Running away. Definitely a difference. Again, I'm comparing it a bit to Fresh Air from Slate Digital. I'm getting that nice kind of shine without overdoing dynamics. Because what this is doing, guys, you see on my notes, you got to consider what this is doing, both frequency and dynamics. What it's doing is controlling both, and that's quite tough to find a plugin that can control both of those aspects of your mix. And that's why sometimes on a vocal this can be really nice. Again, I would rather use the vocal enhancer one. It's the same plugin but specifically made for that, but I just wanted to show in this example that it can work quite well on vocals. All right, let's go forward before we sign off and mess around with this on the master. I would recommend you guys, anyone newer to the plugin, try it on groups. I have tried on mix buses, maybe groups of perks, maybe groups of, you know, your pianos and stuff like I have there in the first example. It works really well, but make sure you understand that it's controlling an entire amount of sound. So sometimes doing it individually with the character plugin, you might find better results, but hey, we all have to experiment. We're all writing different records, so make sure you try that. Okay, let's go to the master channel. Pretty big difference. I'm going to go to the main part. Let's see if this main part down on drop 2 plays where everything's going on. Is it pushing a bit hard on everything? Yeah, because, you know, it's not specifically made for a master channel, but hey, I'm a producer that loves breaking rules, so I'm going to try it out anyways, and I want to show you guys to consider it. Just make sure you understand the source here going and pushing through this plugin is going to add overall output. So make sure you're considering the gain staging side of things, that maybe you have to back off the input a bit to kind of balance the enhancement and the processing. You know, it's a minor detail. Would I throw this on the master? I don't know. I'd have to sit on that a few times. It might be overdoing it, but even a 1-2% difference, guys, can go a long way with that amount of character, that dry wet. That's up to you. I wanted to show that it's available. You know, I've even gone and put drum plugins on a master channel. Like some of you, if you didn't catch the Cashmere one that I did, using a Kick Essentials plugin on the master channel. I love breaking the rules and understanding how I can work things in a different way. I love doing that. So guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. That's from Plugin Alliance, Noveltech Character. Beautiful plugin. You guys can use it on many different sounds, mix, bus, master, etc. Give it a try. Like, share, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoy. I'll catch you in the next one.